Hello, hello. Alright, after over a year, I believe I'm as done with this project as I'm going to get. I'm going to do one last tour of everything. This is going to look familiar, as this is the observation deck. Major change is the ceiling. This is just a texture effect, however on the ship it would be kind of a reverse holographic projection. So it's a plain ceiling, but it looks like you're actually looking into space. I've also changed the lighting and shadow settings so that way there's more detail in the shadow areas, especially high detail sections of the ship like this one. Kind of shows a bit better. I'll move on to a more interesting area. And these are the Crude Decks, meant to be the nicer decks on the ship. They also have the reverse projection ceilings. In this case, it's a cloudy sky. And the familiar arboretum. Did some things to reduce the shader count on the trees, the leaves especially, but they'll have to be redone from scratch if I was to release this publicly. It's just not very optimized, very clunky. You can really tell the frame drop. Once again, I got the higher lighting and shadow. So the shadows look a bit better in this area. Next area of interest is a deck down, mess hall, and medical bay. Mess hall also has the kind of ceiling, reverse projection ceiling going on, and you can actually get a decent look at the HDRI map. I did not make the HDRI map, however it was available free for use online. Of course, medical. I don't have any props made for this. I've only focused on making props for high detail areas, and of course some extra props just as I went along for the sake of it. Yeah. I'm still most proud of these hatches, just learning animation within the Unreal Engine, getting it all to work well enough. Felt like my largest accomplishment. Not that I haven't learned a lot with this engine. And of course, these are the holographic labs meant for training exercises and stuff, but no doubt the crew will use them for entertainment purposes. And this is meant to be a communications and navigations center, but I didn't detail this out. I didn't find it to be an important thing to have detailed out. And getting close to the bridge, got the captain's ready room, conference room for meeting of the officers, the bridge itself. I haven't changed anything on the bridge. Once again, updated the lighting detail and lighting settings, so it looks a lot brighter and a bit more detailed. However, the mesh and textures haven't changed. significantly. I think I made one slight adjustment to the roughness of the main material, and that was it. Otherwise, it is the same, just better lighting settings. And of course, this was where I first started making a lot of props I was going to duplicate throughout the ship. Handholds, chairs that would have a safety harness, joysticks, keyboards, overhead monitors, mini units. These things are prominent in work areas. And another accomplishment of mine is the zero-G transit tubes. To get along around quickly in the ship, there's actual designated areas that have the gravity off permanently. Artificial gravity is not in these areas. And they would have, railings on the side you would attach or grab a handhold, program in where you want to go, and it would take you there, kind of like a zip line. You can get around the ship quicker than just walking or running without exerting so much energy. And not only is it faster and easier, but you can also get quickly between all the decks. So, see, I just came from the bridge up here to, where did I come to? To the Arboretum, right? And then from, go down. And I accomplished this actually by using a water zone. I was trying to do it other ways, but I was coming across a lot of complications. So I ended up just putting in a zone for water, but not actually using water graphics or shaders. So as far as the game's concerned, you're swimming in here. And I actually set the friction down rather low to sort of reflect, it's zero gravity. You're not really going to just automatically come to a stop. Anyway, now you're on the flight deck. So you can see you get quickly from the bridge to the flight deck or the bridge to anywhere else on the ship using that transit system. So the lighting on the flight deck, the higher detail lighting actually makes it look quite a bit more bland. I'm fine with that though. It's not really primary detailed room. It's more of a secondary detail for being on the flight deck itself. And here's the flight deck. And of course, low gravity area with actual low gravity, regular gravity, low gravity. So if you don't feel like using stairs, you don't have to use stairs. Ordnance racks, unmanned drones, 2 types of fighters, both of which flyable. I'll come back to that later. Of course, the hangar rack system, where craft is folded up and stored. Go down for a moment. Another one of my proud accomplishments is elevator with the bollards that rise. I had a lot of fun setting that up. And here's bottom cargo bay. Very low detail. This area is low detail. I didn't really want to invest a whole bunch of time in there. Here's your fabrication system. Basically a giant 3D printer. But I started this project to map out key areas of the ship, and it just kind of expanded over a year. I mean, it's still very clearly that it's about the main areas. Those are the ones that are fully textured and detailed, like the flight deck and the bridge and the arboretum. but the rest of the ship is there, even though much of it is empty and undetailed. Like, all of the doors are labeled with bullseyes, and if there's an actual room label, like here it's air traffic control ATC, it has ATC on the door, flight for flight deck. And then, transit areas just have a number. So I actually did take the time to try and do as much as I could stand doing for something that I'm basically doing for fun. And you have escape pods. Not much detail there. And of course, here's the actual rack hanger. And you can see the shuttle is completely untextured. I made a placeholder model and didn't come back to it. I'm fine with that. I did do a fair bit of detail on both fighter types. One's meant to be older, which is the ones that are on top. Newer ones are on bottom. Bright enough to work in. Okay. Engineering. Yes, engineering. Now, of course, you have, where is it? This one. You have crew quarters. Basic, low detail, more for concept layout than what it would actually look like. Quick and dirty. Main engineering. This is, I'm not going to say this is fully detailed. As you can tell, there's a lot that is untextured. It's just shaders. And I went that route because while I do want it to be accurate in terms of geometry, this room, like the Arboretum, is very hard to optimize just because there's no occlusion. It's like this is a giant open box. Everything's being rendered at once. This runs fairly decently on my computer because it's a hefty computer, but if I were to release it, I would have to butcher this up with some occlusion walls or something, just, cut it up. But fact is, I wanted a big industrial area. It's like you look around, and if you've ever been at a power plant or even a factory or anything, this should kind of feel familiar. One area I did actually texture out was the main engineering control center. And a lot of generic control panel props. This central planning table. Let's see, is there anything else I'm forgetting? I think that's it. So let's show you those fighters. Said I was going to show them to you. That was another accomplishment. Very basic, very rudimentary, but they can be used. They are flyable. It was a can I do it sort of thing. Given one of my objectives with this project was to familiarize myself with the engine. So, not a programmer type of guy. I figured knowing how to do usable vehicles would be very handy. So I'll start with the older fighter type. So you can see I have a cockpit view, actual cockpit of the fighter. There's no instrumentation or anything, so it's just the bare tub. Very rudimentary controls that roll forward, backward, left, right, mouse control. Of course, here you can see the outside of the ship. Animated fuel collectors. The bridge of the ship. Now, of course, the windows inside the ship line up with the windows on the outside. So let's see, the arboretum is these 4 big windows here. Well, you can't see inside just because it's a flat texture with no transparency. Grade A limo tint there. Skylights and the 4 lights. Yeah, the skylight windows and the 4 big windows line up. Cargo bay doors are actual. I didn't rig them up or anything, but they could be if I came back to it. Observation deck windows, etc., etc. So this project was meant to be recreating a fictional thing as an actual thing, so that it's not just loose descriptions that don't really amount to anything. I accidentally triggered the elevator by hitting E inside because I forgot that I'm using F for that. And of course, we'll use this one. And of course, this is, aside from the model being different, the actual spaceship and controls and maneuverability is just a straight up clone of the other one. And my objective was just to see, could I make 2 different usable vehicles and have it work without blowing anything up? And the answer is yes. It was actually fairly easy for the Unreal Engine, I thought. Of course, I had fun making this effect with the force field, where it actually traces. And I'm happy that works in the final package too. I had a lot of fun setting that up. So yeah, that's what I've been working on for the past year. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share. If you like it, go ahead, click the like button. I don't yet know what my next project's going to be. I'm gonna try and shake it up. I mean, I usually default and do into these hard surface projects, a lot of stuff like this. But I think I might shake it up with a character model. I need to freshen up on that. Maybe even do some rigging. See if I could drop it in this even. Who knows? But no firm plans yet. I just know this, I'm putting a bow on it for now. Maybe I'll come back to it someday, but I'm happy with what I've accomplished, and I think I need to keep rolling with learning new things, and that means doing something different other than just constantly building props and putting them in here, because that's all that's really left for this project, is just propagate props and details and work on optimization and that sort of thing. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Have a good one.